This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Gerber's win at Monza was his third of the season, but his trio of victories are split by a pair of zeros, and while Albrecht won both of those races, he's been unable to defeat Fabian anytime the Austrian has managed to see the checkered flag. But on the GTO side of things, Olenek and Mukanos haven't seen the same sort of domination. Instead, a chess game of consistency and speed seems to be playing out among the Audis. Will a short return to normalcy at Road Atlanta change the picture? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, Road Atlanta hosted IMSA in this era, albeit in a slightly different layout. I've seen a lot of drivers excited to tackle this place again.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the more popular road tracks that really any series could go to. And you take the craziness and the excitement that was last week at Monza combined, and this is going to be a totally different race for these guys. Of course, Road Atlanta been around, one of the premier road course facilities in the U.S., running on the 12-turn full layout here for today for the a little bit over 2.5 miles or a little bit over 4 kilometers, depending on how you look at it. And the last time, of course, this track was reconfigured was about 2007, 2008, that time frame, and they've been running on the same of it ever since, but of course slightly different than what these guys used to run on in the late 80s and early 90s. Let's go ahead and take a lap around Road Atlanta in the GSRC car.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Coming down to turn 1, there's a fair bit of braking here, so passes can be possible, but going through too wide will cost you both a lot of time. Out of the corner, you don't necessarily want to track out completely so that you can set up better for turn 3. It can be a bit difficult to bring the car fully off to the left, and watch out not to get a cut course penalty. Feather the throttle through turn 4 so that you can get a better run into the S's, but you'll still need a big lift as you plunge into this valley. Be sure to get the car set up to brake in a straight line for turn 5. It'll be easy to upset the car on the binders, and then despite the 4-wheel drive, you can lose traction up and over the crest due to the bumps and the curb. Finally, you get a short rest before turn 6. Once again, the temptation to brake late will be great, but if you're not tucked in neatly to the apex, even the banking won't keep you from understeering. You'll get a little squirt of the gas before 7, but ideally you want to line up the car so that it's easy to get to the power on the exit. With it leading the car onto the long backstretch, every little bit of momentum counts. Along here, it's all about straightening out the weaving circuit and focusing on nailing your shifts. But if anyone gets a run on you, they're likely to attempt to pass into one of the most popular overtaking spots, the chicane. While the normal racing line is to the right, it is possible to successfully defend from either side if you can keep your speed through this left-right. Watch your wheel spin coming off of there, and then same thing under the bridge. Give a little lift to keep traction. One more big lift through the final turn, and then hopefully you've finished a lap around Road Atlanta.
See a lap around Road Atlanta as we watch the cars run around for qualifying. Let's take a chance to look at the championships, starting with the GTP cars. Up at the top of these, Justin Albrecht 9 points ahead of Fabian Gerber. Now, they have one of the drop weeks included, but this doesn't change Gerber's points. Same thing with Albrecht, since Albrecht missed the first round. They stay the same with or without. Krejcik and Fabian have both jumped up 2 positions, And, well, the driver that suffered from that most is Johnny Bell, who's down to 4th. Phil Lake moves up 1 into 5th with those drop weeks added. Let's take a look at the GTOs. Adam, what's that look like?
Looking at those GTO points out there, and pretty tight up there still. Rob Olenek at 92 points, only 5 points behind him is going to be Nicholas McConis. Ove Changarid 12 points behind. Riley Thompson 23 points behind. So the top 4 are only separated by 23 points. And in all honesty, Reed Miller not that far behind with 44 points. 6 races in, this top 5 still very much in play.
Awesome stuff in the Audis. Now, if you've never watched this series before, here's what we've got in store at Road Atlanta. It is a 40-minute race for the halfway point here at round 6. That means that they have no scheduled stops for fuel. Now, you can still come in and get damage repaired if you get any, but you're going to be severely hampered since the drivers aren't expected to come in for any reason during the course of the race. 25 points go to each of the winners in each class, and they have no spare car. And, well, that will be important since this track can bite very quickly and very harshly. As always, this series is brought to you on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe when you get the opportunity. All you got to do is go to their YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed yet, the subscribe button will be big and red, letting you know. And do that, and you'll get all of the Kamel GT series in your YouTube feed. Taking a look at the qualifying, Albrecht is on provisional pole, and Gerber is coming around to take his second lap right now, but it's not going to be quicker. So, unless somebody else can go faster than Albrecht, he should be our pole sitter. Rob Olenek leading the GTOs currently. Traffic has been a big talking point, though, in the lead up to this race. Adam, the S's seem to be a real big sticking point.
Yeah, in any multi-class race that I've ever done in Road Atlanta, it's always the S's that come up, and you got to have patience. Yes, you can lose a lot of time having to follow a slower class through the S's, but the alternative to losing that time is taking both cars out, and that sometimes happens quite a bit. That's why a lot of people try to be very careful and really think 4 or 5 times, not just twice, 4 or 5 times before you try to pass somebody in the S's.
As we watch John Keefe come around for his second lap, he's currently 8th. He's usually not the best of qualifiers, so I don't think he's going to be toppling Albrecht, but he could get onto the first few rows here. Let's see what he holds across the line. It is faster, a 1:08.9, about a half a second faster. That's good enough for the third row in 5th place. That's a great jump for John Keefe. Martin Krejcik's second lap, his first one didn't count, does count for his second lap. So a 1:09.4, that puts him into 9th place. Watching Vili Ruola, who is on the pole. He's taken the provisional pole away from Rob Olenek, so at this point he can only extend the gap. Nobody else in his class, actually a couple other drivers in his class are out there, but I don't think they'll challenge him. 1:18.3 does extend it for him. I see Havdal out there, but he's already completed his 2 laps. And Karenho, does he have time? Yeah, I think he... Actually, no, I don't think he has time because he's on a warm-up lap right now, Renan is. So this looks to be our set grid. We'll get to that in just a second before we talk about the various issues. Turn 5 is the other one that I want to watch out for, Adam. Every car we see race here, no matter what, seems to have trouble with this turn.
I have been bit by turn 5 more times than I can count. And I know, and you're exactly right. It's just, it's kind of off camber. The car gets really light right there, right at the top of the hill. There's about 4 things going the way that's going to throw the car loose and suddenly oversteer on you. And next thing you know, you find yourself in the wall because either you slid into the wall, in an oversteer condition, or you overcorrected into the wall, because of an oversteer condition. So one way or another, I mean, you got to take it easy through there.
So might take a few victims here. We've only got 21 cars here today as the 24 Hours of Spa, the iRacing 24 Hours of Spa is currently ongoing. So obviously with this being endurance cars traditionally, even though we've got a sprint race today, a number of them have probably joined teams and are trying to tackle that legendary track over there. See just about 40 seconds left, and Carreño, as we predicted, not going to have enough time for this one. So we've got a little bit. Why don't we go through our starting grid for the day and bring you up to speed on exactly how the green flag is going to look. Justin Albrecht, as we mentioned, is on the pole, and Fabian Gerber, their 2 championship contenders, on the front row together. Steve Bycroft will be next to them, behind them really, in 3rd place. Phil Lake starting P4. He's been having some horrible luck lately in this series. Let's see if he can turn that around. John Keefe, great qualifying for him, starting in 5th position. His teammate, Luis Emerton, will be starting next to him in 6th place. Christoph Olenek will be starting in 7th place. And from what I understand, he actually is the brother, I'm seeing in the chat, possibly of Rob Olenek, but a different class today. Fabian Jungbluth, another driver here, regular in the Camel Series, will be starting in 8th. Martin Krejcik will be P9, with Johnny Bell starting in 10th position. Nicholas Rage will be P11, and Michael Springer will be the last of the GTPs to have taken a lap time in qualifying. He'll start 12th. He will be flanked by Ryan Lang, who'll start 13th, but he did not get a time in. He'll be at the back of the GTPs. Adam?
Yeah, and by the way, it does sound like Rob Olenek and Christoph Olenek are not brothers. They're actually from 2 different parts of the world. So, yeah, so hey, I guess Olenek's kind of a popular last name over there. Billy Raleigh and Rob Olenek will be starting alongside each other. Nicholas McConis, Miguel Castro are going to be in row 8. Row 9, Matthias Habdahl, and then Risto Ublev will be in row 9. Michael Haynes, and of course, as you mentioned, Ryan Lang actually moving up to be with the rest of his class. They would have been in row 10, and that will round out the field, I believe.
Just as the pace car starts to peel off, and indeed, you're right, Christoph, hailing from the Central Eastern Europe Club. So apologies to Christoph if we're not saying your last name how they do over there. Rob has instructed us on his last name, but that could be Americanized, so who knows. Regardless, you can see them working their way now up the hill towards the very blind turns 2 and 3, Adam.
Yeah, you go up over that crest going into the S's here, and there's been times where a car has been spun sitting in the middle of the track. You have no idea they're there. You really got to rely on that iRacing spotter to tell you if there's a car stuck in the middle of the track or not, sometimes, or have your own spotter. But that's definitely a problem area.
Come through the S's, which we discussed a little bit earlier, and then climbing their way through turn 5. You can see the Audis splitting themselves a little bit back. That's, if you're new to multi-class racing, that's very normal. They try to give each other a gap so that they don't run into the back of the Nissans if they're a little bit slow or if there's a wreck up in that group. As we ride on board with Rob Olenek, the Dirty Torque driver. Currently, the temperature out on track is actually incredibly ideal as it's early in the morning, just shy of 9 a.m. here, Virtual Standard Time near Atlanta. 70 degrees on the surface, Adam. Should be very grippy.
Should be, but at the same time, though, that track temperature will go up as the sun gets a little bit higher in the sky. Maybe not a whole lot, being only about 8:45 in the virtual morning, but the track temperature should still rise by a couple degrees, which will mean the track will get slicker as the tires get older. Could make the end of this race a little bit more on the interesting side.
Looking back from the 007 cam, as we like to call it, that Dougie has given us on board our pole sitter. That is another one of our Dirty Torque drivers, Phil Lake, back there next to Bycroft that we're looking at. But they're coming through the chicane, and Albrecht is going to lead them through the final quarter once that Porsche pace car peels off. There he goes. Albrecht waiting, checking everybody up, but the green flag is now out, so he gets on the loud pedal and splitting the middle back in third place, causing a big problem. That was Luis Emerton on his lid before he even gets to the green. Let's go to the Audis.
That's exactly why the Audis leave a little bit of space, is they're able to get through all that just fine. In fact, they go single file. Billy Ruala has taken the provisional lead in the Audis here as they go through the S's for the first time. They're all single file through the S's. Rob Olenek in second, Nicholas McConis in third.
Get back to that replay a little bit later once things settle down. Right now, it is Albrecht leading Gerber. He got a good jump, and Steve Bycroft in third, John Keefe in fourth now because of the incidents that we saw, working their way onto the backstretch. Everybody single file. They've gotten settled out after that early chaos.
It definitely was chaos. The entire field now, both Audis and Nissans, for the most part, are running single file. Michael Springer just tried to take a sneak around Nicholas Rage, but nothing's going to happen there. And all leaders are accounted for and in line.
See, not much happening there at the prototypes. So back in the GTOs, Hovdahl giving chase on Castro, and this is for fourth position. They're not too far behind Mukanos as well, though he's starting to gap them out of the chicane. So right on board with Hovdahl, looking ahead. If he makes a move, he's got to look out because Ublev is right behind him.
Three-car battle right there continues to go. Miguel Castro having to hold off Hovdahl and Ublev also. So you have three cars. McConis, though, I mean, McConis slips up just once, and he's going to be involved in that.
Castro getting a good exit off of turn 5, keeping him safe from Hovdahl. Cristo continuing to stay right behind in his tire tracks. Again, this is for fourth position. The draft, I understand, in these Audis, pretty powerful. Oh, and a missed shift from Castro coming out of turn 7 rather, and Hovdahl's going to try to take advantage of it. Finally, it looks like Castro's able to get himself going. Ublev stuck behind both of them. Is he not willing to try and take it 3 wide? Castro slow into the chicane as he breaks a little bit early, so give fourth place to Hovdahl.
Big move, big power move, taking advantage of the mistake from Castro. And now we'll see if with clear air if he's going to be able to try to catch up to McConis.
Not missing anything up in the prototypes. This is one of our best battles currently. Here down in the Audis, up the hill towards 2 and 3 once more. Ooh, little shallow entry for Castro. He seems a little out of sorts here in this last lap. Out of the compression of the valley into turn 5. Let's watch from onboard Castro. See if we can pick anything up from over his shoulder. A little bit off the apex. Ooh, very wide coming through turn 6. Is he going to miss the shift coming off of 7 this time? Looks a little bit better. And let's see if anything happens with Ublev, because he is gaining the slipstream behind him. And I think he's going to have an opportunity. Castro doesn't go defensive. Cristo looks to the inside. He's got a nose in, much better in the later part of the braking, but he's got to gun it off the corner, side by side, and he does. The long way around to the second apex, give 5th place to Cristo Ublev. Now, we've might have 2 replays. Nope, but we're not going to be able to get away from this because here comes Castro back at him. Coming to the inside, down into turn 1. Side by side is very difficult through here. They almost banged doors. And I think Castro's managed to get that 5th place back. Intense stuff here in the mid-pack in the Audis. Now, I think we finally have some time. Both Phil Lake had a problem, and we have that replay from the start. Let's see which one we're going to try and pull up. It's a little bit of a defensive move from Castro, keeps the position. So let's go to the Emerton incident first. There you can see him tumbling down the front stretch. Now, who did he make contact with?
Well, he got a good jump on the start, took it 3 wide with Phil Lake in another car, I believe it was Bycroft, and bounced off Bycroft, right into Phil Lake in front barrier. They just put him up and around, and that was the damage where Phil Lake decided he was going to go ahead and come in. He got his front nose replaced, and because he was losing a ton of time. But that's never a good feeling when you kind of go earth to sky like that there, and that's kind of what Louis Somerton went through.
And just as that happened moments ago, Christoph Olenek had an incident. We'll come back to that in a bit. We're watching the replay one more time. There's the contact with Phil Lake, obviously suffering enough that, like you said, he had to come in to get that repaired. Olenek had his problem into turn 3, lost it under braking, hit the wall, and has since had to take a tow. This is our leader. We missed a pass for the lead. At some point, Gerber has gotten by Albrecht. That actually happened recently.
Yeah, I have to see what happened there because he actually had a pretty decent lead on him. I wonder if it's lap traffic because they're starting to catch some.
No, I think it was driver error. You'll see Albrecht have a little bit of an off here just to the side of your screen.
Yeah, that was a big moment from Albrecht.
He's actually incredibly lucky. This is a monumentous save. Watch this. You can't see it from on board, but his rear wing grazes the concrete.
That might have been what saved him, is that little push to get him back somewhat straight. But we mentioned turn 5 biting, and it almost took a first victim here in the form of your former leader in the Nissans, Justin Albrecht.
Saved it dirt track style, just letting the car right itself off the wall. He does only lose that one position. He's about a second and a half back now, so he could still get back in this. Meanwhile, we haven't really talked about who is our leader all that much in the GTOs. Willy Rolla has been in command down there. Rob Olenik's trying to chase him. Remember, Olenek not as concerned with Willy because he's really not fighting for the championship. It's Mukanos behind him that he really wants to stay ahead of. Currently, firmly 2 seconds ahead of his rival.
Yeah, so far the Audis have been very well behaved for the most part. Of course, we saw that battle earlier on with Mikel Castro, and now Mikel Castro looks like still right there wanting to come back on Ublev.
With him, they've got traffic. We were looking at the replays at the time the GTP fields first started coming through here. That's Gerber, actually, our leader. And he's being chased. He lost a lot of time to Albrecht trying to wait patiently behind them. Justin now half a second back and lets them be.
And then Bycroft here is going to get stuck behind them going into the S's. We talked about the patience needed to go through there. In fact, there he is! Try to make a move.
And
Ublev spins in front of them. He comes back onto the track, though.
That was Castro who got touched off track. Bycroft caught by Keefe because of that. Let's look at the replay. Yeah, it looks like he just got greedy with the first one, and then Ublev spun off in sympathy.
And Ublev's still, and I'm sorry, Joe. Being the faster class there, I have to put that on Bycroft. I mean, it's one of those warning spots that most people tell you about. You can't do that in the S's, and that just happened.
We've had a big one with Ryan Lang. In fact, this was a huge wreck. He absolutely smashed the car in turn 5. See the thing get turned around as he was trying to save it over the crest, and I think he's able to get it going, but he slid along that concrete for a long ways.
He did, and that's kind of that overcorrection there that we were talking about, that, you know, he already felt himself getting loose when he went onto the curbing. When he came off the curbing, because he was correcting, the car threw itself the opposite direction and ended up in the concrete.
Bycroft with more problems. I think he self-spun. No, oh, actually he had some help. It was a reverse situation. Rob Olenek. Oh, maybe he didn't. Let's see. Watching this one from above might be a good angle so we can see whether or not he got touched. It's awful close.
Oh, no, so he comes, okay, so he's going through that right-hander right there, and he's already loose on entry. Back end's already coming around, and Rob Olenek, I think, actually did a great job of staying off of him. It was close. I don't think you guys slid a piece of paper between them. And then Bycroft, right in front, when he was getting himself corrected, right in front of Martin Kretrick, ended up losing the car again.
As we came back live, that was Martin that you saw off track that Rob was just going by. Rob is down in third. He was overtaken by Mukanos when we weren't looking. Bycroft has since had to come in to get repairs for his damage. A lot happening. You talked about the chaos at Monza. Now, it's not quite as crazy, but this is certainly proving to be an eventful race.
It is. Several guys with damage now. I'm even looking with Billy Ruala here. Seems like he wants to have, it has a little bit of nose damage, but I can't find where he got it from, so it might have been curbing.
Then you on screen. This is Springer looking to the inside of Bell, down into the chicane. This is for sixth position. Springer, unfortunately, not able to outbrake him. So he's going to size him up once more, look for the run off the final corner. He might just get it. Great momentum on the side of the number 17. Down to the inside of the corner. Deep onto the brakes goes Johnny Bell and keeps him back. Hovdal to their outside as they approach turn 3. Interrupts the battle momentarily. Hovdal stays out of the way politely. They continue on.
Johnny Bell trying to make up for a probably would have been maybe to him a disappointing Lotus 49 race earlier on at Indianapolis. So he made the trip down to Road Atlanta, now trying to these Nissans and having himself a bit better today than he had there in Indianapolis.
Still under attack from Springer. In fact, Springer's got a great run coming off of turn 7. He's going to use the slipstream, and he's given the inside as Johnny Bell takes to the racing line. Can he hold him off yet again? Down into the braking zone of the chicane. Johnny Bell, once again, just incredible on the binders. That's the second time we've seen him come back to the fore once they hit the brakes.
I think he's got the momentum here, but he's still going to have to go around the high side as Johnny Bell takes that defensive line going into turn 1 here. He's going to try the over-under.
That's a battle for position for second place in front of him. That's Olenek dealing with Mukanos as our two storms come together. Johnny Bell once again holds off Springer. Olenek not able to get by Mukanos. They all go single file. Both Nissans having to wait slowly through the S's down through the valley behind our GTO drivers. Now they're able to sneak by Olenek. He pulls off to the side. Springer and Bell getting to the inside down through turn 6. Mukanos stays out of the way. Olenek trying to size him up off the corner. Bad exit for Springer. Off of turn 7, denies him the opportunity, but now the battle is back on for second between our GTOs.
That worked out about as well as it could. Nobody really lost time to each other. Granted, the Nissans lost time to the overall leader right now, but Fabian Gerber is also, Billy Ruala is also kind of setting sail on them too. So
look at this side-by-side action. Olenek going the long way around to the first apex. He had the inside of the second one. Mukanos carries his speed well, but he's a little too far to the outside. Has to save the car from going in the grass out of the final corner. That gives second place to Olenek. Brave
Got
stuff.
Nicholas Rage coming up behind him now.
So
He'll show patience through the S's.
I was just going to say, let's hope he doesn't show his name through the S's and just wait here. He's not battling with anybody. He is going to wait behind. Mukano's looking a little slow down through there. He's lost time to Olenek. Now Rage goes through. He's running in 8th position, trying to run away from the charging Phil Lake, who's coming back through the field after his damage repairs. No change for the lead in either of our classes. Still Gerber up front, Rolla leading the GTOs. Olenek going to temporarily split Lake and Rage. Go ahead.
I was going to say that the Johnny Bell and Michael Springer battle that we're watching here is also still very much tight. In fact, once again, going into turn 1, Johnny Bell had to take a defensive line against Michael Springer. Now they go through the S's, and these two definitely respecting each other, giving each other plenty of room, but also still racing tight, exactly what you want to see. And it's just that Michael Springer right now cannot find a way around Johnny Bell. I don't think he's going to have anything to do here in the slipstream coming up either. I still think he's just a touch too far back, but I've been proved wrong before.
Yeah, credit to Bell. That number 16 car has been holding it that position down for a number of laps and not letting him by. Not sure. Oh, maybe that will change just now because he's been given the inside. But Bell, every time they've done this before, has outbraked him. And once again, just able to keep in front of him when it counts. Not the same for Nick Rage. Phil Lake manages to get by on the backstretch and move himself up to 8th position. Next for Phil Lake will be these two. Maybe that's what it'll take for Springer. Maybe when Phil Lake comes through, he can try and follow him by Johnny Bell.
Still has a ways to go before that happens, though. I'd be trying to make a move before that, but you might not be able to. I mean, they're about 10 seconds now behind Martin Krejcik.
Yeah, Martin's kind of all on his lonesome. He's in 5th place, 18 seconds behind Jungbluth, and 10 seconds ahead of Bell. Meanwhile, we're looking at Rob Olenek and Nick Mukanos. Nick fell back about a second and has not been able to regain that time. Still giving chase. Rob dropped way off of Villi Rolla, 8.5 seconds now splitting them. Oh, and our lead is closed up. Our lead in the prototypes has gotten down to less than half a second. I think this was traffic. They just went by Hovdal. And this allows Justin Albrecht to now get a whiff of an opportunity. He's looking fast down the backstretch. I'm not sure that he's going to have enough track by the time they get to the breaking of the chicane, and indeed he's going to stay on the racing line. More traffic in the form of Haynes in front of him. Almost halfway through the race now. Again, these two are your championship points leaders in the prototype class, the GTPs. So not only is this for the lead, this is contesting potentially the championship lead. Now they come upon the battle between Mukanos and Olenek. They get by Mukanos. Gerber gets held up behind Rob coming through 6. Looks to the inside, down through 7. And into his teammates! Both dirty torque drivers off track through turn 7.
Rob turned in like he didn't know he was there still.
I thought that maybe Albrecht went a little too wide into the corner, maybe. Yeah, I think Albrecht outbraked himself. It's going to be an awkward post-race meeting. cost himself a chance at the lead and cost his teammate a chance at second place. Both battles now suddenly squashed. And in the meantime, I see that Ryan Lang has come into the pits, and that's because he had another accident at turn 5 recently. This one not as hard of a hit as before. Actually, I don't think he even really hit the wall in this incident. He just spun, came to a halt. Maybe the car not handling how he wanted. He's come back out. Meanwhile, on screen, Johnny Bell and Springer getting very, very tight. Bell to the inside and down into the first corner. They are joined by Phil Lake behind them. Bell stays in 6th place. Phil Lake slowed up, having to halt his pace momentarily. Wait for an opportunity. He gets a great run off of turn 5 as Michael Springer comes off to the left into the racing line. He sees Lake down there. Lake now up to 7th. That's one done. Off of the corner. They put another lap on Renan Carreno. Goes after Johnny Bell. Very quickly drops Springer. So if Springer was hoping for the opportunity to try and get by using Lake as a pick, he's not there to take advantage of it. Lake down to the inside, late into a turn, the final chicane. Johnny Bell's not going to give it up easily, though. He's holding his own, but around the outside, carrying the momentum and a little bit up onto the curves. Phil Lake muscles his way through.
Yeah, and I think that just slowed his momentum up enough that Michael Springer able to get right back to the rear wing of Johnny Bell, but not quite able to do anything with him here. A little bit more Audi lap traffic in the form of Michael Haynes. Michael Haynes actually driving off the track to give them room.
Yeah, he was already offline. I think he figured might as well completely get out of the way. Meanwhile, we've got a battle for 3rd in the GTPs. John Keefe just overtaken by Fabian Jungbluth in brilliant fashion through the chicane. We need a replay of this one. You see him get up beside him, but then watch Keefe come back at him. Great stuff. Guns it off the corner. Jungbluth puts himself on the podium with that gutsy stuff we see into the chicane. He unfortunately is a whole 12 seconds behind Justin Albrecht, though, so not likely he'll be able to move much higher unless one of the leaders has an issue. Something happened with Carreno. He's been in the pits for about a minute, and I see big damage on the car. Trying to see if I could find the incident. Ooh, this is a big hit about a minute or so ago in turn 3, if we want to try and find the replay here. Let's see if we can find this. Oh, there we see just the tail end of the incident when he realizes that that engine is not operating optimally. Oof. Number 20, because of that, has had to come into the pits. In the meantime, Mukanos is being chased down by Olenek despite going off track with his teammate. He's regained it. He's now got him within sight, and he is less than a second behind.
Yeah, so Rob Olenek really, that contact earlier on really did him no favors. And as it put him back into the clutches, Nicholas McConasso. Nicholas McConasso has been kind of on a tear himself, though, here lately, too. So not to take anything away from him, but for sure.
On the back stretch, they've got Ryan Lang and Martin Krajcik, who are not in a battle for position, coming up behind them. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue, though obviously rather only have one prototype than two of them trying to come through. Olenek not close enough as they hit the chicane. These two drivers have had some great fights both on track and in the points this season. Only 5 separating them at the moment. Krejcik going to get by 1 and get by 2. That really opened the door for Rob Olenek. He doesn't step through. Lang behind them, with him being multiple laps down, is trying to stay out of it. He's actually not even getting blue flags for these two, as he's on the same lap.
Felt like he needs to be careful, though, not to get caught up in anything extra. Being smart about it.
Olenek on
There he
2
goes.
wins himself. His last one was last round, as once again we got a dirty torque driver having trouble in turn 7. That was Lake almost pushing Mukanos wide. Unfortunately, with Lang in there, Olenek can't take advantage of it. He will get the slipstream down the backstretch as he closes in. Olenek won last round and has 2 to his name. Only 1 win for Mukanos currently, and that came all the way back at round 2 in Zolder. It's been a while since Nick has topped the podium. I'm sure he'd love to take another 2nd place, but right now it looks like he's not going to be anywhere near to Billy Rolla to be able to get his 2nd win. A little bit of traffic is all it takes for Olenek, and he knows it. Both these drivers, a veteran of this series, patiently waiting for something to come about. Just about a quarter of the race left to go. This clock is ticking by very quickly.
Oh, Ublev has a big off.
On screen, an accident between Springer and Bell. This finally came to a head. Springer kept seeing Johnny Bell braking later than he was and thought maybe he could do the same, but down into turn 6. This looks like some net code, though. Not sure that they actually touched.
I think it's one of those ones that it just looks like to me, regardless of netcode, they probably would have touched anyway. It looks a lot like what happened to Sebastian Vettel and
Max Verstappen?
Max Verstappen just last week at the British Grand Prix. It's just the thinking he's going to make a move, changing his mind at the last second, and then ends up doing himself in with the braking.
Well, he can feel good that even top champions make that mistake. Johnny Bell, you can see how slow he's been going down the backstretch. That car must be severely damaged as he's limping his way back to the pits.
Yeah, it's not driving straight, so he definitely got the worst end of that deal.
Springer, I believe, still lost a position because of that. Nicholas Rage, I think, snuck through. So Michael now down to 8th position. Rage up to P7. Ahead of them, Phil Lake has been continuing his charge and is now up to Martin Krejcik. So he could get into the top 5 after finding himself taking an unscheduled pit stop. Looking back at in and around the lake. Wow, he gained the rest of that second to him in no time. Navigating turn 5. May have taken other places out of that corner before, but not this time. Martin a little bit faster through there, maybe on the back stretch. It's looking more like when, not if, with the pace that he has over Martin, but a little bobble on the throttle for Phil denies him at first. Could he maybe regain it with the slipstream? Yes, indeed. As he gets closer and closer, holding the middle of the track, but not enough of it. Phil Lake looks to the inside, down into the chicane. Krejcik gives up the ghost.
Just Nice recovery drive here today from Phil Lake with that trouble there right off the bat in the first lap. You know, looks like he might very well come away with the top 5 even after all that.
And while that was happening, Nicholas Rage lost the position back to Springer and had a great save coming through turn 5. Wonder if we could get a replay of this. Just up the hill out of the S's. Let's see if we can pull this up. There's Rage in his number 17. Car starts to go on him, but the gravel is there. Oh, no, Rage, Rage was the one with the incident. Rage in 19.
Let's see. So he lost it well before turn 5, ended up having to slide it a lot to save it. So time and pride.
And Rage falls down to 8th position.
See, and he just had to work his way around Mukanis and Olenek, who are fighting for position, and now he's got to do it all over again.
Did we miss the pass for Olenek into 2nd place? I think we did. This was a couple laps ago, I think, actually. I think we found the replay. Our director on the ball. And this was down into the chicane. Just got to run on him. What's interesting, Nick doesn't look like
I don't know, but right now they're side by side here going into the chicane.
Yeah, it almost looks like a mirror of what we saw there on the replay. Unfortunately, Rob's not going to be able to keep 2nd place with that, as he went a little wide coming down the hill through the final turn. Nick Rage trying to lap both of them. He gets to the inside as Mukanos shuts the door on Olenek. Riding on board with a dirty torque driver.
Fabian Youngmuth behind them. He's gonna have to try to. He's waiting patiently through the S's. He realizes that this is a battle for position in front of him.
Left Keith behind, so he's not in a hurry. This has been one of our best battles all race long. And once again, between championship leaders, much like what we saw with Gerber and Albrecht, which unfortunately also has separated. There's about 11 seconds between those two. A big slide from Mukanos, unfortunately, cost him coming out of turn 7. And Rob Olenek now gets to the inside, but Mukanos collects himself. He immediately gets back into the slipstream. A little bit of a defensive move from Rob, covering off the inside. Nick back to the racing line now.
Best part about this is it definitely seems like Olenek here is a lot better in the first half of the track. And despite that slide, Mukanis has been better in the second half of the track. So these guys very well could go side to side, fight door to door here several more times in the final 6 minutes of this race.
I don't know if you saw it. We don't have to go to replay, but to the inside there was a stopped car. That was Nick Rage, who had a spin up and over the crest beneath the Suzuki Bridge. So I think actually he's pulled it into the pits, and I think he's going to call it a day, unfortunately. Right now, our battle for 2nd, interrupted by John Keefe, who's between them. He's trying to get away from, well, no, he's not trying to get away from Steve Bycroft. Bycroft is laps down, so that's not for position. Bycroft's trying to get through, and he does interrupt Rob Olenek. On board with the number 8 of Nick Mukanos, flying down the backstretch. These Audis still get a fair bit of speed on these long straights. They have a lot of oomph and four-wheel drive, 170 miles an hour, 175. A look to the outside as another defensive move from Olenek, and they break down to 60 miles an hour. This looks like it is going to go all the way to the flag if they can keep it pointed forward. Rob defending almost every corner at this point. Down into turn 1. Unfortunately, that compromises his exit a little bit. And Mukanos, once again, not able to do anything with it as he covers him off before turn 3.
I've just checked. This still is the only real battle on the racetrack going on right now between these two for second place in the Audis.
Going to be joined by Phil Lake. Lake is trying to run down John Keefe, but with 10 seconds, or yeah, 10 seconds and 4.5 minutes left. I know that he's going to be able to do a little bit off track there from Nick Mukanos as he got close to the back of Rob Olenek. There goes Lake on through. Olenek struggling every time they get to this straight. He's not going to defend the inside this time, though. He stays on the racing line, but he breaks deep and he makes good on it.
Yeah, he was definitely using the draft of his Dirty Torque teammate Philip Blake there as he went by. He was just using that to be able to edge him out, edge out Mukanos going into the chicane. Mukanos puts a wheel off right there. He's going to lose probably a couple tenths of a second because of that slight mistake.
Time to regroup, gather himself up, see if he can get back in there. He might have some help because Nick Rage is back out on track. Thought he had parked it after his spin. Decided that he's good to go for the final few minutes, but he's not good to get past into the S's. He's going to let Nick work his way through the run off of turn 5, and he's by. This could hold up Olenek. Nope. He's going to wait behind through turn 7. That worked out beautifully for Rob. The New Englander not held up quite as much as Mukanos.
Nicholas Rage kind of weaving a little bit, trying to make sure that he can't use his drafts. It makes you wonder if Rage has some sort of agreement with Mukanos there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're teammates or not. I wouldn't think so. Actually, I believe Mukanos is another Dirty Torque driver. Is he not? Just with a different paint? Yes, he is a Dirty Torque driver. So, shouldn't have any sort of agreement. They come across the line one more time. Mukanos, 3/10 of a second, excuse me, 3/4 of a second behind the number 6 of Olenek. We have 2 to go as Gerber just crossed the line. His car is lapping at about 1:10.
About 1:10. Look at his last lap time there, Joe. It's about as close to about 1:10 as you can get.
8 1/1000ths off. He's got room for improvement. Coming around to turn 6. Gerber didn't start this one on the pole, but boy, did he have a response for Justin Albrecht. The Buckeye hassled him for a little bit, held him back for a little bit even. But boy, once they went through the traffic, Albrecht was nowhere. And Fabian Gerber continuing to pull away. Fastest lap of the race, though, currently goes to Phil Lake. You can see on your screen. He's in a hurry to catch John Keefe. I really don't think he's going to have enough to do that. Actually, are we 2 laps to go this time, maybe? This is going to be awful close. Yeah, just about enough to have 2 laps to go. They are coming up on the drivers battling behind this man. Our leader in the GTO is Vili Rolla, leading by roughly 7 seconds. He's had really nobody near him in his race long. Our battle for second stays about 3/4 of a second apart. They've got our leader in the prototypes coming through, and he is going to go to the inside of Olenek. You can see how much more the Nissan struggle to find the power off of slow corners as Olenek outgunned him, but now has to let him back through. But this was a boon for Mukanos, who starts to close in. Could he try a surprise attack down into turn 10? Nope, he's not that brave quite yet. little bit of a slide through the first apex from Olenek. He's feeling under pressure now. On board the gearbox of Olenek, looking back at Mukanos. I love how these Audis from this angle almost look like old NASCAR stock cars.
Yeah, it would have been about that same era where you still kind of had that still boxy look of the cars. I mean, it'd been that was my favorite generation in NASCAR too, by the way. I'll throw that up there.
They just looked aggressive.
But looking at your leaders right now, Fabian Gerber just getting around Billy Rualas. So that means this race is going to end for both classes very close together here.
It will indeed. We'll try to go back to that battle if it starts to erupt, but let's give a little love to Fabian Gerber. He's not leading the championship right now, but he could switch that around soon. I think with Albrecht second behind him, he won't have enough points to overtake him, but boy, is it gonna be tight. Down to the chicane for the last time. Fabian Gerber in the number 2 machine. Up and over the crest. Down the hill is gonna take victory in round 6. Rolla immediately behind him. Victory in the GTOs. And something happened to Mukanos as he fell back 2 seconds. Trying to figure out what exactly happened.
Yeah, it looks like he just got loose coming out of turn 7, and then just realized it was done and kind of let off of it, let the Nissans go by.
Late race mistake with just a few corners to go denies the opportunity, and Olenek is going to extend his points lead. The last of the drivers cycling across the line, as Martin Krejcik going to be our last of our prototypes on the lead lap. That's going to take us to break here. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. If you watch on screen between now and then, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We just watched round 6. We are now officially halfway through the season here in the Kamel GT series. And up at the front, it is a familiar name, a multi-time champion who took another victory, over Justin Albrecht. It was Fabian Gerber, your winner. Justin, many seconds behind, though he did take the pole. It looked for a little while that he had pace to try and keep up with Fabian, just didn't seem to be there once they hit traffic. Fabian Jungbluth, the other Fabian, is down there completing the podium. Jungbluth has really found himself some good speed lately, although he was helped out with a little bit of problems for the driver behind him, Phil Lake, who did run down John Keefe in the end and took fourth. Keefe in the top 5 regardless. There's a little discussion between the drivers. We may have missed an incident between them later on. Martin Krejcik with a 6 was the last of our prototypes on the lead lap. Michael Springer with some issues as he tried to battle all race long. He finishes 7th. Steve Bycroft, another one who had damage and had to take a pit stop, fell down to 8th position. Nick Rage finishes P9, and Ryan Lang finishes 10th. Bell, Christoph Olenek, and Emerton were DNFs in the GTP class. Adam?
Yeah, leading the Audis, taking that win. Willy Ruola, a dominating win here for today. Rob Olenek and Nicholas Mukanis finished 2nd and 3rd. Great battle between the two of them in the second half of the race. Just to only let it go, they are right at the end. Matthias Habdahl in 14th position overall, but 4th in the Audis. Miguel Castro in 5th in the Audis. Ublev had some trouble there about 5 minutes before the end of that one. He'll come home in 16th overall, 6th in the Audis. Michael Haynes did not finish on the lead lap with the leaders there. 17th, Johnny Bell, Christoph Olenek had some problems throughout. Renan Carino also had some problems.
We've got our winner in the prototypes ready to talk to us. Fabian Gerber now joins us as we get to talk to him about how his race went. Fabian, you didn't start on the pole, but you finished where it mattered in the top spot. It seemed like later on in the traffic, you just dropped Justin like a bad habit.
I didn't feel the same actually. Maybe it looked that way, but I think he had a coming together with Rob, so he lost a lot of time there, and then it was a matter of luck where you got into the traffic. So I have actually no idea if I did any better than him. I don't think so. He's used to it too. It's always difficult at Road Atlanta.
Do you consider Justin a serious threat for this championship? He led the points briefly and is still relatively close to you.
Yes, he's always a threat because he's really fast. We saw that today. I think I made a mistake in my second qualifying lap, but I still wouldn't have got him. I would have been 2 tenths behind him. In the race, we were about the same, but he's always quick, so he's always a threat. I always have an eye for him.
Next week is going to be Lime Rock Park. Feelings on that, because it tends to be a little bit chaotic, putting it lightly.
Yes, but it's actually easier than here for traffic because the speed difference is huge. So you can, in the braking zone, you can just go by the Audi. So at least as far as I remember, I didn't have any problems last year. I think we were there.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you manage that. Again, congratulations on the win today.
Thank you very much, guys. See you next week.
That was Fabian Gerber, our victor in the prototypes. Up next, we've got Adam talking to third place in the GTOs, Nick Mukanos.
Yeah, Nick, great run today here. Great battle as well with Rob. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about fighting him for that second place spot.
Yeah, in the beginning, he was definitely faster than me, but as soon as the traffic came through, it was pretty much a constant, and it was just a back and forth. And I made a little bit of mistakes at the end. We were actually talking after that we were driving more like it was practice than a race there.
And, it almost seemed like that was the case. I mean,
I think we may have lost Adam, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm back. I'm here.
All right.
Sorry about that. No, I was saying, you were gaining on Willy Ruola there at the end by about a half second to a second a lap, just working together with Rob and also still while fighting too. Now with your guys' battle there going on, how was it also having to play with that and getting around the Audis here at Road Atlanta as well? Because there was definitely some places where they just could not get around you.
Yeah, some backmarker Audis were okay, and Nissans too. they seem to always come up on us when they were also battling, so it's kind of tough. It's a little bit of a give and take, and sometimes you get an advantage, sometimes you don't. But it's easier when you're driving against someone that you know and have experience with to make.
All right. Well, anybody you'd like to thank here real quick before we go to the next?
Just good luck to Dirty Torque in the 24 hours. I'm sitting this one out, so hopefully they can bring it home.
All right. Well, hey, Nick, good talking with you, sir, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you next week.
Yep, thanks.
That was our third place finisher in the GTOs. Our fourth place finisher in the GTPs was Phil Lake, who had an eventful start to this race. Phil, it seemed like you experienced a setback and then bounced back from it.
Yeah, towards the end, actually, I was enjoying myself. Yeah, not the start I wanted to have, or anybody really ever wants to have, but yeah, I tried to stay out long enough to get enough of a gap that I would come out in front of the Audis, but I couldn't work that out well enough in my head whilst driving, so I ended up coming out sort of in the middle of them. But then, yeah, I was just 100% focused on trying to get as many positions back as I could.
Do you put much blame on Emerton for that 3 wide move at the start, or do you feel you would have done the same in his situation?
I probably wouldn't have done that myself. It was pretty risky, but you know, he was pretty close to. I looked at the replay and he was pretty close to pulling it off. So, you know, a couple of a foot further left, he probably would have made it. So, you know, some guys like to take the chances and some don't. So I haven't got a problem with Louis. I've raced with him for so long now. I know he wouldn't have meant for that to happen.
Yeah, obviously, with plenty of experience with each other, it's good that cool heads prevail. Towards the end, we saw that Keith slowed and let you by. Did we miss something out there on track, or what happened there?
Oh, I assumed he'd run out of fuel because he was slow down the straight, but if he didn't, then I'm not sure why he let me go.
Yeah,
I'll have to speak to him about that.
Well, we might get to talk to him in a little bit here and ask him. Regardless, that was an impressive run back from the back of the field up to fourth, just off the podium, but hopefully we'll see you at Lime Rock.
Yeah, I'll be there. Thanks, guys.
That was Phil Lake finishing fourth, and the driver behind him, Adam's going to talk to John Keefe in P5.
Hey, John, a good top 5 run for you here today. And, you know, you definitely seemed like you were in the mix of it quite a bit as well. Go ahead and tell us about your day.
Yeah, it should have been a podium, but I just made a couple of really stupid mistakes, and it cost me that. And then I guess I cut it 1 lap too short on fuel, so I had to clutch it that whole last lap every chance I had just to make it back. So had to give up fourth.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some, but that's the story here. Hey, at least at Road Atlanta, though, you finished. It seemed like lap traffic was at times a little bit of a struggle out there.
Yeah, this track has a couple of spots where you just, you know, if you don't get it done, particularly through the S's, if you don't get them before the S's really begin, you just have to follow, and that's really where I lost Fabian. Once he got past me, I just had to follow Ville through the S's, and he pulled 4 seconds, and after that, that was that. So just settled for fourth, and then the short fuel was a total surprise. So I don't know how that happened. I don't think I had damage that would have caused any extra mileage, but I don't know.
Well, of course, we went from Monza combined last week, Road Atlanta this week. Next week's going to be Lime Rock Park. We just keep shrinking the tracks. You going to be all right there?
Oh yeah, Lime Rock is probably my most looked forward to race in any series, but definitely this one because it's a race that literally anyone can win if you know how to play the traffic game, and it's what I consider our wild card race, and I just love it. So it's just so chaotic. I'm just in general a huge fan of these older bumpier circuits. They really present a really cool challenge with these cars, especially the Nissan, which doesn't like bumps. So a lot of driver input there.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you. Nissan doesn't like bumps. Well, hey, John, hopefully we get a chance to talk to you there next week. And until then, man, appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
That was our 5th place finisher in the prototypes. That tells you the difference between most drivers on iRacing and the Kamel GT guys. So they want the car to be a menace to try and wrangle. So we look forward to that as well next week. Thanks to those Kamel GT community people who brought us back for another season of coverage here on GSRC. And also thanks to iRacing for putting us on the IESN for another season. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure and go to their YouTube page, click subscribe, and get every week of Kamel GT in your YouTube feed. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Junior Laurent, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. As we keep mentioning, we've mentioned it because it's a big deal. They're going to Lime Rock Park. Imagine these two cars whizzing around there at full tilt. That'll be July 27th, a week from now, 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.